Hi, I'm Mark Mancini with VRBO Outstanding. This week's episode is on sales use tax, and even if you don't do any direct bookings and you just book on AirBNB and VRBO, this is an important episode, so stay tuned. So welcome back. Now, we're going to go into sales use tax and why it is so important that you know everything you need to know, because guess what? You don't know what you don't know. So let's first talk about the importance of this, because I'm going to share a story with you. One of my students got in the mail a letter, and it was a tax bill for well over $10,000 for the past 1 to 2 years of not only sales tax, but the penalties and the interest that are compounded each and every month. Now, they book on VRBO and AirBNB. So why do they get this tax bill? I thought AirBNB and VRBO were supposed to collect the taxes. Well, they do their best. You have to make sure they're collecting all of the taxes. In some places, you may just have to collect a state tax. In some, it might be state and county. And in some, it might be state, county, and a local tourism tax. So how do you know? How do you really know if AirBNB and VRBO are doing what they're supposed to be doing? I'm going to help you with that. There's a website that I use. It's called avalar.com. Avalar deals with sales tax for different industries, and there's one for short-term rentals. It's My Lodge tax, I believe. They call it My Lodge tax. But if you go to their website and look under their products, you'll see short-term rentals. You'll put in your exact address, and it'll tell you what percentage of taxes and to what entity that you're supposed to be paying them each and every month. Now, this is important. You need to go to that with each of the properties that you own, and then go back to VRBO and Airbnb and verify that they're collecting those exact taxes and percentage rates. Now, many times they don't. Guess what? It is your responsibility to collect all your taxes and submit them for your properties. It's no one else's. So you can't point the finger and say, I didn't know VRBO and Airbnb is supposed to do it for me. That is not a valid excuse. One of the things Avalar will help you out with is if you don't have a sales use number, it'll help you get one, okay? And this is important if you direct book. So we're going to talk about not only Airbnb and VRBO, but also direct booking throughout this video. So another thing you need to be aware of, and Avalar will definitely tell you this, is what is taxable. In a nutshell, in almost all states, everything is taxable. Remember, you've got pool heat, you've got pet fees, cleaning fees, maybe accidental damage protection. In many states like Florida, it is all taxed. So it is important that you address those taxes properly. Now, with Airbnb, for instance, here in the Keys, they collect the state and the county, but not the local tourism tax. That's my responsibility. Now, I know about that. Now, some of my other neighbors who do short-term rentals don't do that, and they're not submitting it. And that could easily bite them in the tail. So, you have a couple options. You can either embed that extra percentage into your nightly rate and up your rate that way. I don't believe it should come out of your own pocket. You shouldn't be paying that tax. You should add it into your nightly rate. Another thing you can do is in your description, you can say there's a blank percent tax that will be collected afterward that Airbnb does not collect. And you could submit that payment through the Resolution Center and get that tax collection then. I've done that in the past before I became API integrated, which every single one of you needs to be API integrated. Airbnb doesn't let me add that third tax onto their system. Now with VRBO, it's very similar, except VRBO's API integration is a bit different. Again, you need to have a PMS system, and we're going to do a video just on why you need a PMS system. One of the key reasons is to be API integrated. So for instance, with VRBO, You actually process the credit card yourself, not VRBO, but you're also responsible to submit all the taxes as well. VRBO wipes their hands of all the taxes. That is how you can correctly collect all the taxes on checkout. Now, the other thing with that API integration that VRBO makes it just beautiful about, you get paid at booking, not the first business day after check-in. If you have a no cancellation policy like myself, you get paid up front versus getting paid at check-in. I like that. Now, if you have a cancellation policy, that's different. You'll collect the money, and if they cancel, you'll have to do a refund, and unless you stipulate it in your description, you'll be paying that credit card transaction of 3 to 4%. So, those are some things to consider with AirBNB and VRBO, that they don't necessarily collect all the taxes for you. That's a false sense of security. If you're doing direct bookings, and you absolutely should, now remember, I've got a couple of videos on direct booking websites. This is where you should strive for, to have control of your environment and also to save your customers on fees and to save you some money as well. So when you direct book, you are responsible for those sales taxes. And one of the things I'm going to talk about is something called a trust account and unearned versus earned revenue. So, for instance, January 1st, someone books a week stay for July 4th week. Let's say it's a $10,000 a week booking because it's peak week, it's July 4th. Let's say they pay you, I don't know, $10,000 for that. On January 1st, your API integrated with VRBO, or again, suppose it's a direct booking. It's a direct booking and you get all the money up front. Now that is unearned revenue. If you are a real estate professional, such as a realtor or a broker, you're required to have a trust account. And some other states, you may be required to as well. All a trust account is a bank account that is strictly for unearned revenue. So for instance, if your management company is short-term management rentals, okay? You have short-term management rentals trust account. And that trust account is where that unearned revenue goes. You do not pay the sales use tax in January or February on that money because it is unearned. What you do is you put it into that account, and then in July, when they first day they check in, it is now earned revenue. You can take the money from that trust account, move it over to your operating account. Okay, now that is earned revenue. With sales use tax, almost every place you're paying taxes starting the first of the following month. So that July 4th booking, you pay the sales use tax anytime between like August 1st and whatever their deadline is, the 7th or the 10th or 14th, whenever. So again, you collect that $10,000 in January. It is unearned. You don't pay any taxes on it. You don't pay sales use tax on it. Hold it in a trust account. Unless you're not a real estate professional, then there's no need for that. Unless your state doesn't require that, you can keep it in your operating account. Again, they come in July. Once they check in, it's earned revenue. You'll be paying the sales use tax on the following month. Now, we're going to talk about some other things you need to know about, and that's how to actually do this collection. Avalara.com only charges $27 per home per month. Some people think that's a lot of money. I can do an Avalara report in about a minute. If I didn't have Avalara, I'd have to get the 3 forms, either paper or online, to the 3 different jurisdictions to report to, calculate everything, and upload it. That can take anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour, depending if I have a PMS system. Like for instance, I use owner reservations or owner res. I can click on my monthly report, has all the information in front of me, the nights booked by AirBNB and VRBO, the amounts collected, and I use those numbers and it fits right into Avalara, and then within a minute I've got my postings. And with Avalara, it'll draft the money directly from my bank account. Now that's important because on a busy month, I can easily have over $5,000 in taxes I'm paying. I don't want to send out 3 different checks to 3 different jurisdictions and go through the aggravation of writing those checks and hoping they don't get lost in the mail. Avalar will debit my account and they'll take care of it and disperse it all for me, okay? So I think it's worth that service because my time is valuable. If I'm gonna save 30 minutes to an hour, I'll pay the $27 a month per property. We'll go into another episode of having a PMS, but again, it's very important that you do. It gives you all those reports, makes your job a lot easier. Some people are very, very afraid of sales use and remitting them, and that's why they don't direct book. It is not that hard, I'm telling you, especially if you use something like Avalar. Don't let that fear hinder you from going into direct booking, okay? Now, I also promised you a gift every week. So right below is going to be a code. Only one person can use it. So the first person that watches this video and puts that code in will get the reduced rate of my course down from $795 to $199. It's a no-brainer. Trying to help you out, build your bookings up. So remember, closing up this week, don't fear the sales use tax. Avalar.com is a great tool. Find out what you should be collecting, make sure it's correct. And if Airbnb and VRBO are collecting everything properly, then you're set. But again, don't forget those direct bookings. Those are important to help build your business and your brand. I want to thank you for joining me this week on VRB Outstanding, and we'll see you again next week. Don't forget our course, VRBOutstanding.com, and we'll see you again next week.